Morning arrives quietly on Maple Street. The diner wakes the way it always does, lights warming, coffee brewing, the steady comfort of familiar routines. Outside, the air is cool and still, carrying the promise of an ordinary day. Inside, small tasks unfold at an easy pace. Hands move with care. Voices remain low. Nothing feels rushed. Nothing feels wrong. Just the soft rhythm of work and belonging. But even the calmest mornings can turn. And sometimes, the most important moments begin without warning. Lights on Maple Street, Chapter 5. Oscar's accident. Morning on Maple Street arrived the way it usually did. Quietly, without any need to announce itself. The diner lights were already on, their soft yellow glow pooling on the linoleum floor, though the sun hadn't quite finished deciding whether it was fully awake. Pale morning light slipped through the front windows in long, careful bands, warming the counter and catching on the chrome trim just long enough to glow. The smell of fresh coffee hung in the air, rich and familiar, threaded with the faint sweetness of syrup. From the day before, Sarah came in first, the bell over the door giving its gentle chime as she held it open so Jenny could follow her inside. Jenny paused just over the threshold, the warmth of the diner wrapping around her. The air smelled clean and comforting, like wiped tables and brewed coffee and something steady she couldn't name. "Okay," Sarah said softly, tying her apron, the fabric rasping quietly under her fingers. "Same as yesterday." Jenny nodded seriously. She took her place near the counter, with a damp cloth, wiping the lower surface carefully. The wood felt cool and smooth beneath her hands. She moved slowly, enough not to miss anything, standing on her toes when she had to, her sneakers squeaking faintly against the floor. No one told her to hurry. Oscar worked nearby, folding napkins the way he always did. Cotton brushed softly against cotton as he squared the corners, pressed the folds, stacked them evenly. When the stack was finished, he tapped it lightly against the counter to align the edges. The sound small, precise, satisfying. Jack watched from behind the counter, coffee pot in hand. Steam curled upward as he poured, carrying the deep, earthy scent. Across the room, he didn't direct the morning. He let it happen. "You're getting faster," he said to Sarah as she passed, his voice low and even. She smiled, a little uncertain. "I don't want to rush it." "That's good," Jack said. "The diner doesn't like to be rushed." Jenny looked up. "I don't either." Jack nodded at her. "Me neither." Oscar glanced up at that and smiled faintly, then went back to his work. For a while, nothing changed. Plates were set out. With soft clinks, coffee was poured, then poured again. A couple of regulars drifted in, coats rustling as they slid into their usual seats. This was a morning, like many others, and that mattered. By late morning, rush softened. The diner exhaled. The radio hummed quietly in the background, the sound almost more felt than heard. Sunlight shifted across the floor. Oscar picked up the cleaning cloth from the counter and folded it once more before carrying it toward the back. The cloth was cool and slightly damp in his hands, familiar in weight and texture. The back door opened onto the narrow space between the diner and the motor court. Warm air met him immediately. The pavement held the heat of the morning. Curtains stirred lazily in the cottage windows. Somewhere, a screen door closed. With a soft clap, everything looked exactly as it always did. Oscar stepped down. Something shifted. Not sharply, not loudly, just enough. His foot slipped. Oscar went down. Inside, Sarah paused mid-wipe. She hadn't heard a crash, just a sound that didn't belong. A small interruption, like a sentence stopping. Halfway through, her stomach tightened before her mind caught up. Jack felt it. At the same moment, he set the coffee pot down, porcelain touching counter, with a muted thud, before Sarah even spoke. By the time he reached the back steps, Oscar was sitting upright, blinking, the world a little too bright. His palms were gritty. Against the pavement, a neighbor had already knelt beside him, her voice low and steady, hand hovering just close enough to be reassuring. "You're okay," Jack said, steady and certain. Before Oscar had the chance to answer, Jack crouched in front of him, the smell of pavement and sun and dust in the air. "I've got you," he said. He checked Oscar carefully, slowly, methodically. His hands were warm and sure, grounding. No urgency, no alarm. In his voice, calm moved from his touch, into Oscar's shoulders, into his breath. When he was done, he nodded once. "Let's go inside." Oscar nodded and let Jack help him up, his knees trembling just slightly as they moved. The diner adjusted without being asked. A chair scraped softly across the floor. Then a blanket appeared, worn and familiar, settling over Oscar's legs. With gentle weight, the radio volume dipped lower, the room instinctively quieter. By early afternoon, Oscar rested on the couch in the quiet back room of the diner, eyes half closed, breathing steady. The faint scent of clean fabric and coffee surrounded him. Jenny sat on the floor beside him, her book open, but forgotten. "You fell," she said quietly. "I know," Oscar said. "Are you hurt?" "No," he said after a moment. "Just tired." Jenny accepted that, nodding once. Sarah lingered in the doorway, hands clasped, watching the rise and fall of Oscar's chest. Jack joined her. "It's dinner time soon," he said. "I need to go feed my mom." Sarah hesitated. Oscar usually does. "I know," Jack said. "Today I will." Jenny looked up. "I can stay." Jack nodded. "That's what I was hoping you'd say." Jenny sat a little straighter, the responsibility settling on her. Like the blanket, head on Oscar, Jack and Sarah left the diner together. As the afternoon tipped toward evening, they walked. Maple Street had softened into its in-between hour. Porch lights glowed warmly. Behind curtains, the air had cooled just enough to raise goosebumps. On Sarah's arms, carrying the smell of cut grass and distant suppers. For a while, neither of them spoke. "You didn't panic," Sarah said, her voice barely louder than the sound of their footsteps. Jack glanced at her, then back to the sidewalk ahead. "No, I didn't either," Sarah added. "I thought I would, but I didn't." Jack nodded. "That makes sense." Sarah looked at him. "Why?" Jack took a few steps before answering. "Once you've had to be the calm one," he said. "It sticks with you." Sarah waited. "I learned it from my dad." Jack continued. "He was steady, no matter what." They passed a row of quiet houses, windows glowing amber, dinners just beginning inside. And from Caroline, Jack said he didn't look at Sarah when he said her name. "She needed me to be calm." He went on, voice even, not brave, not strong, just calm, so she could breathe. Sarah felt the weight of that sentence settle low in her chest and didn't rush to fill it. "She's gone," Jack added. Simply, Sarah nodded once, the night air cool in her lungs. "I think," Jack said after a pause, "once you learn how to hold things steady for someone you love, you don't forget how, even when everything else changes." "That's what it's like with Jenny," Sarah said quietly. "She watches my face before she listens to my words." Jack nodded. "Yeah." They reached the nursing home steps and stopped there for a moment, the building warm and softly lit behind the glass doors. Jack didn't say anything more about Caroline. He didn't need to. Back at the diner, the quiet back room held its stillness. Oscar shifted slightly on the couch, the blanket whispering against itself. Jenny noticed immediately. "You want to work on it?" she asked. Oscar nodded. "Yeah, I just need my tools." Jenny slipped out through the back door of the diner and crossed the small stretch of pavement toward the motor court, the evening air cool. On her face, Oscar's cottage sat just behind the diner, familiar and close, its porch light glowing softly, though the sky hadn't fully darkened yet. Oscar's room, inside the small cottage behind the diner, was not a workshop. It was a kid's room. Superheroes burst from the walls in bright colors, posters slightly curled at the edges, action figures lined up along a shelf. Like a careful parade, a stack of worn comic books rested beside the bed, pages dog-eared and loved. A colorful blanket was folded neatly at the foot, faintly smelling of laundry soap. Jenny stood there for a moment, wide-eyed. "This is awesome," she whispered, her voice hushed with awe. The small toolbox sat tucked beneath the desk. Jenny picked it up with both hands, metal cool against her palms, and carried it back carefully. They set the tools out on the small table. Between them, the pen lay there too, waiting. Oscar worked slowly, guiding Jenny without rushing her. The soft clink of metal against metal sounded too loud in the quiet room. "Not that one yet," he said gently. "This one first." Jenny nodded and handed it to him. They worked quietly, their breathing slow and matched. Then Jenny saw it. A faint warmth, a soft glow. "Oh," she whispered, eyes widening. Oscar smiled. "You see it?" Jenny nodded. "It's warm. That means it's okay," Oscar said. He guided her hands once, lightly, and waited while she adjusted the piece. The glow steady beneath her fingers. The glow held, then faded, leaving only the quiet hum of the diner. Beyond the wall, Jenny looked up, worried. "Did I mess it up?" Oscar shook his head. "No, that's how it works." They kept working, slowly, together. The nursing home was already settling into evening. The lights were low. Dinner trays were being cleared. The soft rattle of dishes echoing faintly down the hall. The air smelled faintly of soap and warm food. Sarah slowed, studying the paintings along the wall. "These paintings are like the ones in the diner and the cottage," she said quietly. "It must be the same artist. They're remarkable." Jack nodded. "Yes," he said. Margaret sat near the window. Her posture was upright, her hands folded neatly, her eyes alert. Jack stepped closer to his mother's chair. "Mom," he said quietly, "this is Sarah." Margaret did not speak, but she looked at Sarah steadily, and Sarah held the gaze, feeling the weight of it settle without discomfort. On the dresser beside her chair stood a framed photograph, a boy in a Boy Scout uniform, neat, serious, open-faced. The photo was clearly well cared for, the glass clean, the frame rubbed smooth. At the edges, Sarah noticed it. She did not ask. Jack opened the dresser drawer, wood sliding softly. He searched for chapstick, shifting a stack of letters aside. Lois's handwriting familiar enough that he didn't need to read it. Paper whispered against paper. His fingers closed around the jewelry box. He lifted it out to clear space and set it on top of the dresser, the wood making a soft sound. as it met the surface. Then he continued searching until he found the chapstick tucked near the back. He closed the drawer and turned back to his mother. Jack pulled the chair closer and took the spoon from the tray. He fed his mother slowly, waiting for her rhythm, never rushing the next bite. The room felt hushed, respectful. Margaret accepted the care calmly, her eyes steady on his face. Jack wiped her lips gently. When he was finished, the chapstick leaving a faint shine, Margaret's eyes had already moved, not to Jack, to the box. When it was time to leave, Jack paused beside her. "We'll be back tomorrow," he said. Margaret watched him go. Back at the diner, the lights were on, casting warm squares onto the pavement outside. Oscar was safe. Jenny was content. Care had shifted hands and then returned again. Nothing had broken. The day settled and the light stayed on. But on Maple Street, there is always a light left on. It glows through ordinary moments, through quiet acts of care, through the steady presence of people who show up without being asked. This is a story about those moments, the ones that don't make headlines, but make a life. Thank you for spending this time on Maple Street. Until next time, the light stays on